Welcome to Conversations. I'm Nancy Brinker. Congresswoman Young Kim helped break new ground on Capitol Hill as one of the first of 3 Korean American women to serve in office. Congresswoman Kim, thanks for joining me today.
Well, thanks for having me. It's good to see you.
Great to see you again, too. You know, we have this perception of California as being the land of liberals. That's what we're told. And yet you were able to unseat an incumbent Democrat. How did you make your case to voters?
Well, I worked hard, first of all, and I told them that I am a first Korean American woman that was elected to the California State Assembly as the first Korean American Republican woman. That really shows that there is an opportunity for immigrants like me. I made the same case that when you work hard, you can achieve anything you want. With that same mindset, I ran for Congress, and now as you know, I ran in 2018, but I didn't give up, even though it was a heartbreaking loss with a very, very small margin of loss. But I regrouped and came back and retook the seat. And so this type of opportunity that is allowed and afforded to someone like me, an immigrant from South Korea, working hard and really, raising my family in the district and working in the district, serving the district that I'm now serving as their representative for the California 39th district. Again, through hard work and determination, I was able to, achieve what I'm doing right now. So this really shows that the Republican Party is the grand opportunity party that creates policies that allow Americans of all backgrounds to succeed, just like I did. So I have to tell you, it wasn't easy, but I worked hard. I didn't give up, and I came to Congress to get through the gridlock and get things done. And I have heard from so many of my constituents that they are getting hope. They're inspired by my story. And I hope that this is an opportunity for me to tell my story, that they too can achieve their dream too.
Yeah, it is indeed an opportunity to tell your story. One of the failed policies in California was something called AB 5. It was legislation that killed opportunities for freelancers and independent contractors. And it's been reintroduced on the national stage as a so-called PRO Act. How do you feel about this very pro-union proposal?
Well, first of all, this is an anti-worker, anti-business, anti-freedom, and anti-American. That legislation is such a failed policy in the state of California. And I can't believe that the members of Congress is trying to nationalize this at the national level. We heard the president talking about the need to create jobs in his address to Congress. But then he also said in the same breath that we need to sign into law the PRO Act. That would nationalize the policies that continue to drive workers and businesses out of my home state of California. The last thing Congress should be doing as we get our economy back on track is passing a bill that hits the brakes on our recovery, kills jobs, and hurts small businesses. That's what this AB 5 has done in California, and it will destroy our gig economy and independent work, from Uber and Lyft drivers to local artists and financial advisors. This is something that is going to hurt not only the state of California, which we've seen, but it's going to hurt our American economy. And that's why I'm working hard to fight this. I spoke on the floor when this PRO Act came up, and I talked about the experience in California, how this legislation has driven many workers and businesses out of the state of California. And so this bill is so unpopular that the voters in California rejected big portions of that bill in the November 2020 election. So I hope the president talks to California workers and families about this disastrous policy.
So shifting for a moment, what do you think of the efforts to recall California Governor Gavin Newsom? Where are we on that?
So the Californians signed over 2.1 million signatures, and they just needed 1.5 million. I believe at this point we have more than enough, over 1.6 million qualified and verified. So now we're waiting to see when the recall election will be scheduled, whether it's done this year in November, or if the Democrats will push it to the March of next year when it coincides with California primary. So we're just waiting. But one thing is that the intensity of Californians who are upset about Governor Newsom's failed policy, especially handling the COVID-19 crisis, I think it's a clear a sign and clear message that the Californians are sending. So as soon as I hope that this is scheduled for recall early this year, so that people will see the devastation of the inconsistent policies that Governor Newsom and his administration has put forward has hurt our economy so bad. And during the California, because of the inconsistency, so many businesses closed down. Over 40,000 businesses closed, but 20,000 of them have closed permanently. And so we want him out. We want new leadership.
One of those seeking to replace Governor Gavin Newsom is former ambassador to Germany, Richard Grenell, who also served as the acting director of national intelligence. Would you support his candidacy?
Well, at this point, there are over 100 plus, if not more, candidates that is on the ballot. And, anyone but Gavin Newsom, I believe, will be good. I haven't taken a look at every single candidates that are on the ballot or will be on the ballot. So I'll take a look at close look and see who I can get behind. At this point, I'm not endorsing anybody yet.
Okay. I know one of your pet passions is helping out small business. You and I one day had a conversation that small businesses are the backbone of America. Why is that, and what are you doing in Congress to make it easier for these independent entrepreneurs to succeed?
Well, first of all, as a former business owner myself, I understand the challenges that our small businesses owners face, especially during the pandemic when they had to be creative, use their ingenuity, and especially restaurants. Seeing how the small businesses suffer reminds me of the times when I had to run my business and how difficult it was. And as I mentioned, nearly 20,000 California businesses shut down permanently due to COVID-19. So think about this. Every small business that closes takes away jobs and causes economic stress to families and communities. So these are more than just statistics. They are lives and livelihoods. So what I'm doing in Congress, serving on the Small Business Committee, I've been able to work in a bipartisan way, work with my Democratic colleagues, and introduce the Paycheck Protection Program extension legislation that has already been signed into law, by the way. It gives the small businesses extra time to apply for those small businesses because they did not have the opportunity to get their first draw or even second draw. And the PPP funds were going to expire at the end of March. So it was necessary for me to introduce the bill and, give the businesses more time, because at the time, there were like $88 billion that were not spent. That's what I'm doing. And I'm also have two other bills that is passed through the House and waiting for Senate action. And that will give small manufacturers additional access to capital.
I'm interested in finding out why your family chose to immigrate to the United States. Well,
my parents were both over the age of 50 when they made the tough decision to bring us to the United States. And I know it was difficult for them, especially for my parents who only have elementary school level education. And they knew, I'm the youngest of 7 kids, by the way, used to be. 2 of my older brothers passed away. But still, they knew they would not be able to give me the opportunity of, graduating from college or getting the quality education or give the economic and financial stability they would like their children to have. But they knew about realizing the American dream. They came to America and they went through such a difficult time raising our family. I remember oftentimes walking down the beach because we first settled in Guam. My mom would always take me down to the beach and ask me to pick up cans and bottles. And I thought it was just a cleaning act. But I found out later, because we come from a very humble background, this was her way of giving back to our community, to our church, that, we would do recycling from the cans and bottles that we picked up, and we give whatever we could pick up to church. And this was such a very unselfish act on her part, but it also left a very lasting impression on me. She would always tell me, Young, when you can, we need to give back to the community and this country that has given us so much opportunities to succeed. And that's what stuck with me. And later on, as I was growing up, I said, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. I now have an opportunity to serve this country, and now as an member of the United States Congress, I came to Washington to bring some common sense policies to Washington and help move this country forward that we've seen that has been stopped. We couldn't move forward because of the hyper partisanship we saw in Washington. So hope that I can bring some common sense and make sure that the lesson that I learned from my mom, unselfishly give back.
Yeah.
If you don't care who takes the credit for doing what you do, you can get a lot of things done. And that's also the message I learned from my former boss, Congressman Royce.
Well, it's really
that my story can inspire others too.
Yeah, sure. And as an immigrant, I'm sure you can sympathize with others who would like to come here. But we have so many that are coming over illegally. What's your stance on the crisis on the Mexican border?
In one short sentence, we have crisis at the border. I visited South Texas as part of the only bipartisanship trip to go down and see the border crisis firsthand. I also went to California, Mexico border as well. And it's clear what we're seeing is a security, humanitarian, health crisis. But the Biden administration refuses to see it for themselves. And he talks a lot about moving our country forward and being compassionate. He wants us to move forward. Yet he nor his Vice President Kamala Harris has gone down to the border. He has not gone down to see what I've seen. I went down there. I talked with the Border Patrol officers, law enforcement officers, judges, mayors, landowners, people on the front lines of all aspects of this crisis. And they all tell me the policy changes made by the Biden administration to rescind that migrant protection protocols and asylum cooperative agreements with countries in the Northern Triangle, like those are, and he didn't even have any replacement and made this crisis worse. So I urge them to go down to the border, and they should not have rescinded these policies without first having other policy proposals to replace them with.
Do you feel our Customs and Border Patrol have the support they need to do their jobs effectively? And then how do you feel about DACA?
They are doing the best they can given the limited resources they have. We need to give them more reinforcement so we have more patrol officers. Right now, the patrol officers are now serving as caretakers. There are more people inside the detention centers. And so officers are there taking care of them, making sure that they are even they're just spread too thin. So in short, we need to give them more resources. They are doing the best they can, but they want to be also compassionate.
Sure.
They are not able to do it.
You serve a very diverse district, which includes more than 27,000 veterans. As you may know, health care is very important to me. So I want to know what's being done to protect the health of those men and women who volunteered to serve our country.
Well, I completely agree with you. Those men and women that served our country and continue to serve, we need to do everything we can to provide that they are protected, their health care needs are met. And especially when we ask them to serve and they come back, we need to make sure that the infrastructure is available for them, such as providing them with the right resources for them to transition back into the workforce, allow them to continue their education if they are coming back after serving 2-3 years overseas. All of these needs to be met with urgency because my husband is, for example, a veteran, and my sister who served our country honorably for 28 years, her husband who served honorably for 28 years before they retired. I mean, between our family, immediate family alone, I've seen the sacrifices they make and the families and the military families and their children make. So we need to do everything we can to make sure that they are protected and give them the necessary support when they come back, especially when they transition into the civilian life.
One of the health issues, sadly, impacting many veterans, of course, is mental health. And as a nation, we don't do a great job of dealing with mental health issues for regular citizens. Do you think any special efforts are being made for veterans?
Well, I don't serve on the Veterans Affairs Committee, but I will be, if there is any legislation that will be supporting our veterans, I'll be very supportive, especially in the case of mental health, because a lot of people who come back from combat environment, they are suffering with, the post-trauma. And so we need to make sure that their healthcare, support system is there for them. And same thing, if they came back and if they had to go through the COVID, especially during their lockdown situation. The regular people, as you mentioned, Ambassador, are struggling with the mental health issues. And imagine if the veterans are going through the same thing. This is a double whammy for them. So I want to make sure, and that's why I have a legislation actually to provide more resources and provide some support to take care of this mental health issues that not only the veterans but the regular citizens are struggling with.
We face a lot also of foreign threats. Face a lot of foreign threats. Russia, Iran, China, and North Korea. On the international front, what concerns you the most, and what do you think we need to be doing?
What concerns me the most is the rising influence that China is exercising in the region. And I know their ultimate goal is to be more superpower than the United States. We're not going to let that happen because right now, especially during COVID, China is using vaccine diplomacy to put the pressure on the country that have relationship with United States. Or in the case of Paraguay, they're promising millions of vaccine with the pressure for them to cut off their ties with Taiwan, because you know how China feels about Taiwan. So these are the countering China's increasing influence in the world and in the global community is one that I'm working very closely on as a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee.
And do you think that it's going to help if we can bring a lot of our companies back home again? There's just so much discussion about it, and wonder how and when that will happen.
Sure. I think the supply chain is a great thing, and putting the pressure on China, especially when they are not following the WTO rules. I think individual sanctions we know have not been very effective, but utilizing private sector and maybe giving them more incentives so that they can bring back or pull back their supply chain out of China would probably be one way that we can handle China's growing influence.
You are being looked at as a real leader in Congress, and there's been a lot of conversation this week about change in leadership. How do you think we're doing as a party? Can we rebuild and build the strength of our party after losing the national election?
Our conference needs to come together and focus on policy issues so we can deliver results for the American people. To me, the Republican Party is the grand opportunity party that creates pro-growth policies that are helping us lower tax, lower healthcare costs, make life more affordable, secure our border, and allow all Americans to succeed just like I did. This is the kind of message that the conference chair should be focused. But I think that we need to go forward and look toward the future. And the Republican Party, when I decided to run, the leadership, especially the female leaders such as Liz Stefanik, has been very supportive for me. And, both Liz Cheney and Liz Stefanik, they encouraged me and supported me and many other women candidates through the finish line. So I'm grateful for our leadership for being there. We really need to look at how we're going to grow our party, and that means we need to stick together. We need to stay focused on messaging, and the message is obviously work on policies that will create opportunities for Americans of all backgrounds to succeed just like I did.
That's all the time we have right now. Congresswoman Kim, thanks for letting us get to know you a bit more and taking time to share your thoughts with us today. And of course, thank you for watching. Hope you'll join me again for my next conversation. So long.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.